Hey guys, it's Core Ross and welcome to Busting Rainbow Six Siege. So today we're taking another look at the perspective problem in Rainbow Six Siege. Now in the last video I did about this, I don't think I did a great job explaining it, but also my approach as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to go deeper this time. This is going to be an even deeper dive. We're also going to bring in Get Flagged. He's going to have a look at this video before it goes live to actually give me his opinion. But of course it will be my main opinion, bringing my evidence together to create what I think is going on. But also make sure you know that I don't believe my opinion is the end of it all. I think other people's opinions also count, and their evidence could be the same as mine, but put together in a different way to get a different conclusion. And just like in the last video, I do think there will be a change to the camera system, but I think that the change will be so small that it won't actually fix the problem we are looking at. And there's multiple reasons for that. So this is also going to be a lot longer video because we're really going to go right deep on this. This is going to go so deep, and we're going to look at every single facet. We're also going to look at the comments from the last video about issues people brought up. So we'll debunk and kind of bust some of them, but also probably confirm some as well. So let's start with the history lesson. Of course, we did this in the last video, but the last video is going away. This is going to be the one that actually has everything in it. So first of all, camera, POV in Rainbow Six Siege. Because it's a computer game, it means we have a single point of view. Now, this isn't great because in reality, of course, we have two eyes. And I should note that cranking the field of vision up to maximum doesn't help this because your viewpoint in a computer game originates from a single point. Whereas with the field of view slider, you do increase the vision that you get to see, but it is still originating from that single point, which is, of course, a detrimental thing. Now, when Rainbow Six Siege launched, the camera was in the neck. Now, this was great because it lined up with the gun. So if you were shooting your gun, you could kill people. And that made a lot of good sense. And for most situations, that actually worked really well. However, it had a major problem, which was staircases. So a player coming up those staircases with their head shown above their POV would of course die to someone at the top. But of course the person at the top also had the same POV, but because they were at the top and usually further away from the stairs, they would result in a victory for them. As such, it ended up getting changed. Now of course the camera has then since moved, and probably moved without our knowledge, but we have also of course heard that it's moved with Burnt Horizon, as they brought in a new lean mechanic which stopped lean spam. Now that meant that the camera is central to the face. So currently this is roughly where the camera is right now. And this is the case with both leaning and standing still. Now you might think this is bad, and this is the thing, I think actually it's not as bad as you think. So of course a fix that I think everyone agrees on, including me, including Get Flagged, and I'm sure other people out there, is to change the POV. Now one option would be to change it by a tiny amount, which would mean to push the camera out so it's in line with the eye. Now, of course, this would have to be standardized, so it wouldn't be perfect because, of course, each character's model has different eye placement and we wouldn't be able to match it up perfectly, but we could probably get close. Now, I'm going to go over why that might not be a great solution, just purely down to the fact that it doesn't actually fix the problem. You can still get shot by someone who is invisible to you, and I'll explain that to you shortly. Now, the other option is to go to the extreme, so actually pushing the camera all the way out to the side of the face. Now, what I've done is I've coined the idea of how this would be, and this would be Rainbow Six sheep. So, of course, prey in real life have their eyes all the way out to the side. Now, if we had an operator who was actually a really smart sheep, they would absolutely dominate at Rainbow Six Siege because they would be peeking masters. They'd be a peek without revealing almost any of their self, and as a result, they'd be able to get incredible amount of kills. This is because in Rainbow Six Siege, you fire your gun from your point of view, so your bullets come out of your face, or at least where you're looking from. As a result of that, it's not like PUBG where your bullets actually come out your gun and you also have a separate POV. So of course you shoot stuff in that game all the time. You're shooting like window frames and stuff. Whereas in Siege, of course, you never shoot window frames because of the point of view. You can be incredibly precise. But that's a negative of Siege. It's a necessary part. It's a necessary evil to make the gameplay possible. But it's actually very unrealistic and actually causes the problem that we're currently having when people die to enemies they cannot see. And I'm going to show that a lot of solutions people have brought forward to fixing this will either not fix it or cause major problems in other areas that we really don't want to do. Now, I guess we should go over the problem that we're actually trying to solve here, as you might not even know this exists, you might not have seen the previous video. So what we're talking about is being shot by an enemy that you did not see. Now, this has been happening a lot, and people blame the camera system for this, but my opinion is that this isn't actually the camera system's fault, and it's something a little bit greater with much more facets to it which make it really complicated. Now let's go through an example game clip of this happening to a player. So what we have here is Alibi. Now Alibi has just done a run out, she's killed an enemy player, she's ran inside, and now she's taken up what we would consider as siege players to be quite a strong position, as she has taken up a nice tight angle on this doorway, so she'll be able to kill anyone who appears from that doorway. But she gets killed by Zofia, who was actually in the corridor that she could not see. Now, a lot of people have told me in the comment section of the last video that Zofia is actually in the doorway and that Alibi should have seen her, and that this is definitely a game issue. This is a game mechanic issue, and that was in the comments a lot. Now, if you actually look at this, we can see that Alibi can see the door frame, but Zofia actually isn't in the door. You can see that Zofia is standing in front of this light. She hasn't actually crossed over that pathway of the light yet. As a result, you can see that perspective-wise, she's actually not visible to Alibi, not because of a game mechanic issue, but due just to perspective. But of course, this does come down to camera placement, which we're going to go over. So hopefully there I've laid out the basics of the issue here, and this can be recreated in Rainbow Six Siege in any scenario. The only thing that has to be a variable in order for you to recreate this in a custom game is to have two players but not having the same distance from the cover. Now if you look at the 2D graphic, if two players are the same distance away, they will both see each other at the same time. Now if we make it so that one of those players is actually further back from the cover that's being peeked, you can see that that player further back now gains an advantage. They can actually see that player without the other player seeing them. Now, of course, a solution that's been put forward by a lot of people is to push the camera out. So the camera, when you're leaning, will become further and further towards the ear of the player's head. This way you can see around corners more. Now, I have a few big issues with this. First of all, is that it doesn't actually solve the problem we're trying to fix. So it's a solution that doesn't solve the problem. It also means that the peeker gains more advantage because they now can hide better behind that peaks. And the more extreme we get with that camera placement, the worse that gets. And we're going to go from 2D graphics actually into 3D in-game shots to show this as well. But let's start with another 2D graphic. What we're going to do this time is we're going to go with this, we'll call it solution number 1, where it's kind of the midway solution. And we just kind of push the camera out a little bit from the center of the head, giving the player a better perspective around corners. So here's an example. Player 2 down here now has an offset camera. It's been pushed out further from the center of the head. Now this is a great solution. As you can see, what's happened is we've pushed the player's vision out further. As a result, they can peek that corner better, and it makes it a far fairer fight in a lot of people's eyes. Now, I have a huge problem with this, and this is because people want the camera pushed out, but they forget that that has to also happen for player number 1 as well, because of course both of them have the same POV when they're leaning in game. So we have to also update player 1's camera, and we're right back to where we started. Our solution hasn't fixed the problem. Now we could say that it has alleviated it a little bit, and this is what I said in my last video. I do think they will change the camera position a little bit, but I'm talking pixels in difference, tiny amounts. Now another solution, and this is the extreme one, we'll call this solution number 2, is to push the camera all the way out to the ear. So that's getting us into the territory of bringing in that Rainbow Six Siege sheep operator. Now this has been put forward to me as a really good solution because it takes away the perspective issue, and it does. It actually solves it entirely. But it also opens an entire can of worms when it comes to this problem. And in the past, this sheep eye position is actually something the devs did. It was actually live in Rainbow Six Siege. Now another content creator did actually come up and say, wait a minute, this is an issue, made up some game clips and showed that with the new lean mechanics, it was going to be a massive advantage. And we're going to go over that and reason why shortly, but because although you got rid of the perspective issue, the actual perspective issue isn't an issue in my opinion. It's actually a good thing. So let's take this from 2D to 3D and actually go in-game and take a look at this. So we've taken a look at the current problem in-game with the 2D graphs. We've also taken a look at solution number 1 and solution number 2 with the 2D graphs as well. And it looks like solution 2 fixes the perspective issue. So we're going to have a look at this in-game and see if there's downsides to that solution. So up first, what we have here is Buck peeking this doorway. We've got both operators the same distance away from the doorway. So what I've done, I'm controlling both operators here, and both of them can see half of each other's faces, and they're both leaning. Now, this can be recreated in game in any map you want, and you can go test this out. The reason I've done this on this map is we have this nice blue background that highlights the player's outline and gives us a clear indication of how much they're exposing when peeking. Now, I believe how it currently is actually pretty good. Now, like I say, I think they may change the camera by a few pixels. I also want to highlight how the camera system actually works pretty good considering the limitations we're looking at here. Because the POV is somewhere in the forehead, it actually means that when you're leaning, the camera, even though it's still central to the head, does actually manage to get pretty close to being over the eye of the operator, which I think is quite a nice little balance there. Of course, visually as well, it looks quite good. We can see the gun, so if we were to get shot, it would feel correct. So let's take a look at solution number 1. So of course, solution number 1 is to push the camera out, maybe more in line with the actual eye, or even potentially a little bit further past it. Now, I'm going to flick back between the two versions because I want you to understand how minor this change actually is. It is the tiniest of move, and this is actually moving the camera quite significantly in the head of the operator, and it doesn't really change that much at all. And of course, I can still see the operator's eye, and I can also see their gun, so if they were to shoot and kill me right now, I wouldn't feel cheated. Now, let's go to the extreme solution, which of course is pushing the camera all the way out. Now, if we zoom in, you can see that I haven't gone crazy here. I've still actually left some in the hitbox, I've still left some of the actual head, so even at extremes, we could still get actually headshot by someone who we don't see. But I think this hopefully does represent the problem I have with this solution, is that look how much of Buck is visible. I can no longer see his eye, I can no longer see his weapon. If I was to be shot and killed by him now, I would feel very cheated. And I know right now getting killed by an enemy that you can't see feels like getting cheated. I definitely don't think this would be a good solution. Now let's push this out to range. So of course in the previous example we were looking at two operators who were the same distance away from each other. Now let's do this, but Buck is going to be further back from that operator. So in this scenario what we're looking at is the current system. So Cav is peeking, and again she can see half of our face and we can see half of her face. Now of course in this scenario Buck can move to the left and he will become invisible to Cav, and he will be able to headshot her without her seeing him. Now if we go and we implement solution number 1, this is the change. Again, it's minor. It doesn't actually solve the problem because of course Buck can still move to the left and headshot Cav without Cav seeing him, and because of the minor change, it is such a tiny amount in the angle of attack that it is pretty much the same. Now of course it does help the situation, and this is what I believe. I do believe they will tweak the camera, they will push it out a little bit more, but I think that it's going to be such a minor change that the actual problem will still persist. And this is what I want to teach you guys, because I think that from my opinion here that this problem will persist into the future, because I actually do think that it's always existed in Rainbow Six Siege in the past, even with all the crazy camera positions that we have had. Now let's take a look at solution number 2. So of course this is again pushing the camera all the way out to the side of the head hitbox, and I want to emphasize that I haven't gone to extremes here. You can actually still see some of the face paint of Cav, so her head is still visible, it's still possible to shoot her, but I want to show that even not going to the total extreme, we are getting something which doesn't look good. Now tell me, right, in the comments below, do you want to face an enemy like this? So the perspective issue is pretty much gone with this change, but this is all you see. Now, this is a best case scenario where you actually have an enemy who is getting a nice outline by a nice bright blue wall behind them. If this was another map where it was a darker color, maybe even just grey, it might be far harder to spot that cav. Or what if there was a pair of shelves on that wall behind her that just masked that shape of her body? It would be incredibly hard to see her, shoot her, and kill her. But she would be able to see and kill you. And remember, in this perspective position, she can see half of Buck right now. So she is able to kill him very easily while having a massive peeker's advantage here. It's huge. And this is what I really dislike about some of the solutions people are putting forward about fixing this problem. And I think it also shows that even though they may understand perspective and how it works and the advantages from being further away and things like that, it does to me show that there's an inherent idea of how perspective would work just by pushing the camera out, that it solves the problem. And I think that just makes things worse. And the perspective is actually a thing that's in the game that should remain in the game in some way. Now this is the same in CSGO and stuff like that. There's other computer games that are similar that have these exact same issues. Now I've spent a lot of time in this video debunking some of these solutions. Now of course, like I say, I do think the camera will move, and I think it actually needs to move. It will change, but it'll be by pixel amounts. So what's my solution to this issue? So the way I see this is that Rainbow Six Siege is an ever-evolving game. It constantly changes, and as a result, players like us have to constantly change with it. And of course it means that becoming a master of Siege is pretty much an unattainable goal, because you are constantly having to update your tactics, because people come up with better strategies, people come up with different metas, and little changes to the game change those metas. So it's just really rich, and I love this about Siege. I pretty much say this in every Mythbuster episode. I love the fact that it's just constantly changing. It also means that every single Mythbuster episode I do is pretty much obsolete, because it ends up changing in some way to no longer be the case. But I love that. I love that we're just constantly having to learn. Now, a lot of people have said that this is a problem which arose with Burnt Horizon and was due solely down to the camera placement change. I want to say that my solution doesn't involve that being the case. The way I see it, and of course my opinion here, is that we lost drop shotting and we lost lean spam. Now, of course, drop shotting's back temporarily, but you get the idea. And of course, drop shotting was removed over a year ago now, but I expect a lot of those players adapted to the lean spam mechanic. Both of those things involved a lot of motion, and they promoted motion. Drop shotting meant a lot of people were running around and then drop shotting to the ground, and a lot of people, of course, were running around spamming their head left and right. Now, those two things were fixed, and I think it's good that they were fixed. But think about it, before Burnt Horizon, do you remember dying repeatedly to people running around with their heads spamming all over the place? So back before Burnt Horizon, the main complaint wasn't that you couldn't see your enemy, you could see them perfectly fine, but you hated the tactics they were using to get kills on you, which made it feel unfair that you were getting killed by these. And I agree with that, and I'm glad those things were fixed. Now, if we could go back and actually load up a previous season, which to be honest, I'd actually love to be able to do. I wish I could load up a previous test server, a previous season's version, and jump in and then go test this. Because I expect what would happen is we would be able to recreate what we currently have as an issue in those previous seasons. We'd be able to take advantage of perspective. Now, the reason I think it's become such a big problem is because those two major tactics, drop shotting and lean spam, were removed from the game. We've seen players become more and more static. And as a result, we've actually got to a point where people expect to be in a stronger position in a computer game by standing still. Now, of course, in most FPSs, standing still is considered to be bad. So if we were to go boot up Call of Duty, if we were to boot up PUBG, we'd have people bouncing all over the place, bunny hopping, sidestepping left and right, constantly in motion no matter what. And thankfully, Siege does not have bunny hopping. Thank God. It's probably actually the main reason I play Siege. I freaking love the fact that there's no bunny hopping. But it comes back to where we have fallen as a community into thinking that standing still in this game is an advantage. that we should be able to see an enemy at the same time as we see them simply because we're standing still, peeking a corner. And that's the mentality I'd love to disprove in this video. It's not that people are idiots or ignorant, it's simply the fact that I think we've fallen into this simply because the game changes and we haven't quite caught up with it yet. And I think as players we can improve to reduce the amount of times we do actually get shot by players that we cannot see. So if we now jump all the way back to the game clip we were looking at to begin with, of being shot by a player that we couldn't see, we can look at it and we can say, right, there is things we can do to mitigate this. We could pie the entire corner. Instead of just lining up straight away with that door, we could have checked that entire corridor. Now, Zofia, being prepared, would still have probably got the kill on Alibi, but it would have given Alibi a chance. And I think this is what most people would like in a change to the camera system, is simply to be given a chance. And I think that we ourselves are actually able to give ourselves that chance in game just by switching up our play, being a little bit less static. Because that's the thing, as soon as Alibi becomes stationary and starts to hold that angle, that is when she dies. Up until that point, she was mobile, she was doing great. But once she becomes stationary, she becomes an easy target. And I think that is down to player decision. Now you guys of course can give me your opinion on this, and I think this is perfect time to do it. So I've explained my side of things in my opinion, but of course a large chunk of people, even people that understand perspective, think that this is an unfair death to Alibi. My opinion is that because of Alibi's run out, Zofia was ready for her. If Alibi had actually checked the entire corridor, then it would have been a 50-50 chance that she would live and would have given her a chance. But because she picked the siege option, which is to hold an angle onto a doorway or a window or other object, that resulted in her actually getting killed. And I believe that is a tactical mistake. And that's not an insult to the player actually playing Alibi, because literally Alibi stops for a split second. But that's all it takes. And in Siege, it's those split-second decisions that can be life or death. And in this clip, I don't think the player that dies as Alibi is at fault, because we would not, probably all of us, would not have expected for Zofia to actually be in the corridor. We would have all expected as Siege players for that Zofia to have been peeking the doorway herself, looking back at us, which would have been a 50-50 fight. But she wasn't. Either that was accidental or that player was playing a good tactic there in natural positioning and won. But it could have just been pure luck. We can tweak the camera, we can push it out a little bit. We're still going to have the same issue. And we definitely should not go to the extremes, because even with just this slither of a player, imagine server delay. So imagine a player is simply leaning back and forward every so often at that position. They would be able to pop out, shoot you, pop back. And on your side with server delay, you wouldn't actually see them pop out. They wouldn't appear because it's such a tiny amount that the time required just isn't there when it comes to server delay to see that. So anyway guys, really breaking it down to the basics, there is no solution in my opinion. Now there is ways to mitigate it, and this can be done by the devs and ourselves, and I'm sure that will happen on both sides. But I just want you guys to understand that this is a really complicated subject. It's not simply because the camera position changed. It's because we changed. The players changed. This all had a factor. So camera placement did have a factor. Our playstyle did have a factor. And we don't want to overreact and end up actually ruining the game by putting in a system that, although it would remove perspective issues, it would add so many other problems that I just don't think it's worth it. So that's what I came out to try and do with the original video by debunking a previous idea. And hopefully this is now a better version of that, because I still believe, of course, the same conclusion from that last video, but we are here now with a different way of presenting it. And hopefully you guys have enjoyed this. Of course, one of the reasons the last video was like it was is because I wanted to condense it into a video that was watchable. This video, as I record this right now, just the audio, is over 20 minutes long, you know, going over this subject. And I think I've been as precise as I can be with all of this. But it is such a complex subject. It's such a very sensitive subject for a lot of people as well. And I want to just show that it's complicated. It's a problem, but it is complicated. And it may not be solvable just due to the fact of how computer games work and that perspectives is just straight lines. Like unless we're curving our perception of the world, there's just no ways to get around that. And if we do go to the points of trying to beat perspective, we're going to end up shooting ourselves in the foot. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Of course, add your comments in. Because the last video is going down, all those comments, of course, will no longer be visible. So if you do have stuff you want to put forward, do it. There has been other suggestions as well that I don't want to go over in this video because, again, we're over 20 minutes long now. But there has been great suggestions from all kinds of people. I even had a developer who spends most of his time working in Unity, and he gave me a really good explanation of different camera positions and how it can be affected. And he also attached this GIF as well that can show how you might attach a camera to an actual head as it moves. So it could be entirely stationary, or it could move along with the character model. So there's a lot of complexities to this. And we even got comments from Rainbow Six devs as well who say, this is something that's in flux. They're looking into it, they're debating it, they're thinking about what they're going to do with it. And it'll be interesting to see what their final solution will be. And of course, maybe their final solution will not be a final solution, and we'll just keep in this thing of Rainbow Six Siege constantly changing. Anyway, guys, thanks very much for watching. If you have watched all 25 minutes, damn, I'm impressed. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Give me your opinions, and I will catch you next time.